Good day and welcome back to Axis Empires, Total Krieg. In this session, we're going to play the final turn of the summer 1944 season, equivalent, as we know, to 1942 in the historical war in terms of where things are at. It's the second summer of total war and the second summer of the German offensive in the Soviet Union. As a quick recap, the German offensive has proceeded apace. It's a bit different from the regular war. If you've been following along, you know what's going on. If you're not, it's a lot to explain, so you might want to go back and peruse a few previous videos in this series. Anyway, let's get carried on. It's the Axis faction turn. We proceed through the sequence of play. It's not a seasonal turn, so we'll skip that. They don't have any political events on their card, so we'll skip that. That brings us to the support segment. They have one Air Force that needs to get put into the delay box. And there are some convoys that have to go back. That goes to the delay box, that goes to the force pool, and that goes to the delay box. That is it. The Axis are definitely wishing they had inherent supply convoys like the Western faction does. The Japanese have inherent supply convoys if you're playing on Daisenso, but the Germans and Italians don't, which I think is a very interesting way of modeling the supply problems that the Axis had getting materials to North Africa during the war. Of course, the Axis are in a much better position in this game than they were historically in North Africa, as you can see. Now we have to place new support units. We don't have any combat we necessarily want to launch in North Africa, although I guess they do have an opportunity potentially while there's no HQ. They do have a problem in that it's stormy weather, which isn't great. Although they can't attack during blitz combat in storms in the desert. It's storms in the desert right now. Yeah, here we are. So the main thing is that they can't attack in the blitz combat segment in storms. The air unit thing isn't a big deal because they really won't be able to fly air units because of the British air superiority at the moment. Put that there, put that there. So where are they going to put an air force? Well, first of all, let's do convoys. I think the Axis will place this as a supply convoy. And the reason I think they'll do that is so that they can move during operational movement. They have a little bit of that to do right now. And that's going to be more important than shuttling over one German steppe. And what else? Let's go ahead and put an air force in Sevastopol. It's not a bad attack. There's only 6 defending factors. Or there are only 6 defending factors. However, there are also 3 defensive shifts for the fort, the HQ, and the city. So there are a lot of shifts to get over in order to still have a decent attack. That's it for German aircraft and other Axis support units. The cupboard is pretty bare right now. Blitz marker placement happens next, so actually we'll open that right back up. Place a blitz marker in Sevastopol. We won't be able to take advantage of the fact that blitz markers open up cities by forcing units to retreat out of them because of the HQ and the fort, and also the fact that there's no retreat path. Where else can or should we put a blitz marker? Now might be a good time to try and take a crack in regular combat on one of these other cities. Although that could be difficult because we don't have another HQ down here. We also could have an issue. In order to get a good attack on Sevastopol, we're going to have to throw a lot of our panzers in instead of infantry. Although I think we can, if we do a little optimizing, I think we can get one of these panzer armies attacking another city for the armor bonus. These have 9 factors defending, but only 1 defensive shift. So let's go ahead and put a blitz marker in Rostov, because maybe we can use the retreats from the blitz marker to force um, them out of Rostov, to force the defenders out of Rostov and take it this turn before we're out of blitz markers. And is there anywhere else we might want to attack during blitz combat? The answer is probably not. Anywhere else we can attack is pretty strongly defended. Maybe here. There are 2, 4, 7, 10 factors defending and 1 defensive shift. We can get 2 offensive shifts with 11, 23, 25, 29, 31, 36 factors attacking, be in the 4-to-1 column. And we have a loss we can take. That wouldn't be terrible. We're liable to inflict 3 or 4 steps of damage over the course of the turn. That might be okay. And just killing a bunch of Red Army steps right now is pretty good. So let's go ahead and put a blitz marker here. Or we'll say in Smolensk. That's probably okay. If we can keep up the pressure, that's good. And killing some of those shock armies is also good. Again, maybe the Soviets will pay for being incautious with where they place their shock armies. They really should have had them maybe in this hex or even in this hex in the defensive terrain. That'll be it. We're not committing to necessarily attacking those hexes, but we definitely want to think about it. Let's carry on with organization. Where do we have? Obviously, we want to organize this. We're going to organize it into 10th Army. And we have a bunch of units to get back up on their 3-step side over here. And I think we have some organization in. Oh, we've got a little bit over here. And down here. That's that for that. Okay. That's it for organization. That brings us to operational movements. So what are we doing for operational movement? That unit will go there. The HQ can stay put, although I think we will shuffle it forward so it has a little more coverage. Eventually we're hoping to have a line. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll be able to push the Red Army out of Pskov with the HQ and the fort and the terrain. It's a really tough hex to crack. And of course, our offensive power is currently concentrated in the south with all four panzer armies down there. So before we move around this sector, we want to think about, we said we can get 36 factors attacking 10 on this hex, E4210. There's a defensive shift that brings it to 2 to 1. It's a base 3 to 1 attack. And then we would have armor and HQ shifts to put it in the 4 to 1, 5 to 1 column during blitz combat. If the Red Army does not commit the HQ, then it would be 36 factors attacking 7, which is the 5 to 1 column. So it starts in this column, and then it would end up being in the 9 to 1 column. So I think they have to commit the HQ, or it looks really ugly. There's a lot of retreats, but in this column, there's a 50-50 chance of the Red Army taking 2 step losses. And most importantly, because the Axis are likely going to need to get a unit into Hex 4309 in order to get that kind of attack, this unit would end up retreating somewhere where it would be ugly in terms of overstacking. So in the 4 to 1, 5 to 1 column, there is a 2/3 chance of inflicting 2 step losses because of the HQ stopping retreats, a 1 in 6 chance of 1 step loss, and a 1 in 6 chance of 3 step losses. For the Russians, there's a 50-50 chance that the Germans will take a step loss. So that's probably okay loss-wise, and then hopefully that will set them up for inflicting a few more casualties during regular combat. So let's go ahead. That's 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not actually going to be able to get 36 factors just because of how oh, I guess we could if both panzers go up there. Maybe we don't need both panzers there. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1. There is a bit of a concern about the HQ getting pincered, so maybe we will leave that back there. All right, let's look down here. What are we doing? That's going to go there, so we can combine that. I think we talked about having the logistics marker a bit further forward. So let's half, 1, half, 1, 2. Let's just put a pin in that for a moment. To be honest, a great place for logistics marker, well, if we thought we could push even further forward, a great place for logistics marker would be Kharkov. To be honest, though, I think we're just about hit the limit of where we can reach in the Soviet Union. Just because there's a reasonable buildup of Red Army troops in the center and north, and they could open up a very big gap in the line and sort of cut off this whole force very quickly over the winter. At least that's what it's looking like. But let's optimize some of these combats down here. So we need 1, 2, 3. That's 16. Plus the HQ is 20. We need to get to 36 factors if we can. I'm not sure that we can. That's 16. Oh, we do need all the panzer armies to get there, because that's going to be 32 factors attacking plus the HQ is 36 in order to get into the 6 to 1 column. The reason for that is there's the 3 defensive shifts. That gets us down to the 2-to-1 column. And then we have Air Force, Blitz, HQ. We're back in the 6181 column. And that's going to give us enough step losses on the defenders to make sure we take the hex. Because we're most likely to inflict 2 step losses. 3 step losses, excuse me, during Blitz combat. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Could we get an attack before I shuffle around that? We won't have an HQ. We won't have blitz markers. It's not going to be very good, but all we really need is a DR1. That's going to be 12, 22, 28. And I'm not sure we can get that unit in on the attack. It's not looking good. That would be a base 2-to-1 attack, would become 3-to-2. We'd only be losing an infantry step on an exchange. The issue with an exchange, of course, is it's not a retreat. We really want to be in the 3-to-1 column. We just really need one more HQ down here, don't we? Well, we'll have to... I guess it looks like Rostov will be getting attacked over Christmas, as it were. So these units will shuffle up this direction. We're just going to undo a few of these moves. Because we need a unit to occupy Sevastopol, don't we? We might have to break down one of these infantry just to get some extra steps for sitting into these cities. Half one, half one. We could have Yugoslavs. That's going to take a little longer, so we'll do 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Goes there, that goes there. That goes there. We got a nice defense line now. That's it on the Eastern Front, I think. Could have sailed out our German convoy, maybe. But I think we want to make sure the Western faction is well and truly abandoned Norway before we start removing units. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I think at the most we might take a step out of Oslo. Let's look down here. What are we doing down here? So we want to swap out these units. Let's just make sure we can do that in this weather. It's storm in the desert. A ground unit in a hex with storms must stop movement after moving into or out of an EZOC hex. So they can still move, but if they started in a hex containing an enemy zone of control, they stop after moving one hex. Which is fine. This unit will move here. That unit will move there. And we like that because now there's a much stronger defense here. That's going to be half, 1/2. One, two. That goes there. This goes here. And that goes there. That'll have to do for now. So we are going to have to commit a bunch of extra German steps to Egypt. Not really, because we're going to have some of them leave. But as I've mentioned, we really need those Axis multinational armies in Italy very soon. That is it for operational movement. Let's look at blitz combat. So as it turns out, we do not have a blitz combat in Rostov. We might have if we'd had one more HQ down there. So we have 2 combats. We have to decide whether we attack Sevastopol first or up in the north. Let's do up north first. We have 8, 18, 24, 30, 34 factors attacking 7, 8, 9, 10. The Russians will commit the HQ. That's going to be 3-to-1 base. Becomes 2-to-1 with defensive shift. Ends up in the 4-1-5-1 column. Is that right? Yes, it's not, it's clear terrain there. Yeah, clear terrain. And what's the hex number? 4210. Let's go. F5. DR1, 1-1. So they take a panzer step loss. With the DR1, that's going to convert into a step loss right away. I think what the Russians will do is just take those as step losses, so it's the same net result in terms of their defensive factors, but they get to keep more steps, at least for now. And Sevastopol, that's 16, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 factors. Attacking 6 is 6-to-1, 8-to-1 column to start off with. As we said, there are 3 defensive shifts for Fort, City, and HQ, and then we have Armor Blitz, HQ, and Air Force to get back into the 6-1, 8-1 column. F4. Just barely avoid taking loss. DR2, 0-1. The Axis likes that. That's going to be 3 step losses. So I think they're going to take it on the HQ, the remaining 2 step losses. And that's it for blitz combat. During the regular combat segment, do the Axis want to attack Hex 4210 again? They're going to have 16, 22, 28, 32 factors, now attacking 8. 32 to 8 is 4-to-1 with offsetting HQ shifts. That's probably fine. Let's do it again. F4. It's again DR111. So now they have to take an infantry step loss. And the Red Army has to take 2 more steps. Which this time I think they will take on that unit. And then they'll be able to retreat. They could maybe contemplate an attack, but to be honest, that was their main offensive punch. And if they get out of position, they could end up getting clobbered somehow. But it might be worth a try. That's the end of that. They have a regular combat in Sevastopol, so it's looking a lot better, although there are still a bunch of defensive shifts. We have 16, 32, 36 factors attacking 3. That's comfortably in the 9 to 1 column. There's a city and a fort defense, plus HQ and Air Force. So yeah, 9 to 1. The 2, that's going to be good enough. We don't even need to look that up. Although I guess we should for exploitation. DR301, the Soviets retreated 0 hexes and left 2 combat results unsatisfied. So that's going to be an exploitation distance of 2, which doesn't really do much for the Axis. They're going to be in the same. Any unit will just advance into Sevastopol and then leave. So we'll just have 1 unit advance into Sevastopol, and that'll have to do. All right. That is it for combat. That brings us to reserve movement. These units are all locked up, so they can't really move. Same with those. Down here, we don't have any reserve movement we need to do. Just over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. That gives us full coverage of our front defensively. And we'll be able to pivot to attacking Kharkov or Rostov as we like. And I don't think there's any risk of the Western or Soviet faction placing a partisan base right now, so we're just going to go ahead and move that unit there so we can combine them later. And then that unit will go there so that they can get to Sevastopol, Odessa easily enough next turn. And that is the end of the Axis faction turn. Let's carry on with the Western faction. They have no political events, so support segment. That's going back. That's going back. They're really looking forward to getting the 3rd convoy with the Americans. That's it. Support unit convoy marker placement. We're going to go ahead and put a convoy in the Arabian Sea. And then where else are we putting a convoy? The North Atlantic? Probably not. I don't think we need a convoy anywhere else right now. I guess we could use escort convoys, but what would be the point? Where would we put one? Could put an escort convoy in the Arabian Sea if we want to really shuffle over units, but we don't need a whole bunch of units just yet. So we'll leave it at that. Do we want to place an air force? Do we have an attack anywhere? Probably not now that that line is looking more secure. I think we have to be able to get in behind and be able to attack the HQ as a spoiler before we can attack somewhere up in here. Yeah, that'll be it. Organization, we don't have any for now, so let's go to operational movement. We'll start by having this unit shuffle. Maybe we'll stay there, actually. We'll stay in that hex, because then the Germans won't be tempted to enter the approaches, or cover the approaches to Oslo from Stavanger, which they might consider doing as long as we still have units in Norway. They could contemplate attacking, but I doubt that they will. It's just that defensive step there. You know what? As an organizational thing, let's go ahead and put the London HQ, since we're just starting operational movement. Even though those units are going into the delay box, so they might not get back right away, we really do need more British infantry steps. This unit will go here. And then what are we doing over here? Let's get that there. This unit can go here. I think we'll send the American armor over to Kuwait just so that we have both American and British units for American and British deployment of support units. That can go there. We're now all set for when our HQ shows up. The multinational HQ. That is it for operational movement. There's no combat. So during the marker segment, that goes back there, and we go to reserve movement. This can go here. We'll keep the slower infantry on in Basra, so it stays on the rail line for when we activate Iraq, which I think we're liable to do. We won't now, because the Axis will get a step to... They'll get a chance to place the Iraqi reserve infantry if we activate Iraq now. If we wait to do it next turn, then they will not. Half one, half two, 1-2. The only fly in ointment is they could maybe get the Italians in if they are clever about it. Which they will be, because this is telegraphing an attack on Iraq, I think, pretty hard. That's it for the Western faction turn. Not a lot going on. Let's proceed to the Soviets. What are they doing? They have no political event, no operational movement. Why did I open that? I don't need to. Sorry, they do have operational movement. No political event, no no support segment, I'm sure. They just have organization. Which is going to be what exactly? This unit will organize into an HQ. And that's it. So now, operational movement. The Germans won't have any blitz markers in the autumn, so it's not quite as bad up here, but at the same time, they've basically turned that flank. So when these units get back up north, it could get a little ugly if Rostov goes, especially if it gets taken out next turn. Because all of these factors are freed up over the winter, even though the Soviets will have their own offensive. So I think we have to do a little bit of rejiggering here. Unless we have an attack. Could we attack HQ North? We have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, potentially 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Those units won't be able to make it, actually. We can get a full stack of units here, a full stack of units there, one 3-factor unit here, so that's going to be 9, 18, 20, 21, 22, and then one HQ, 24 factors attacking 6 is 4 to 1. That's not bad. We have offsetting HQ shift, so it'll be the 4 to 1 column. There's a 1 in 6 chance that we'll do enough damage to reduce the HQ. And that would leave these units in a bit of a pickle. That might be okay. And while it won't take the pressure off Kharkov, it at least will give the Germans a little bit of pause here. Maybe that's worthwhile. Let's do it. One, two, two, one, two, one, two. One, one, two, three. One, one. That'll go there. We just need one, two. Half, one, half. They're going to run for the Dickens. Run back to Moscow, I mean. Run for the clappers, I think is the normal phrase. Half, one, half, two. That's not a great defense. Looks like we forgot organization up there. That's fine. We'll just shuffle them. Half, one, half, half, one, half. We're not terribly concerned about an attack on Leningrad. Still. One, two, one, two, one, two, three. I'll go here. That will go here. Still looking pretty bad in the south, but I think this situation up north is looking good. That's it for operational movement. Let's look at attacks. So what do we say? We have 3 from this HQ, plus 9, that's 12, plus another 9 is 21, 24 factors attacking 6. So we're in the 4 to 1 column. And we have offsetting HQ shifts, so it stays in the 4 to 1 column. 4 1 5 1 column, because I always like to pretend it's a higher ratio for superstition, you might say. A 4, it's DR111. Alright, so they have to take an armor step loss because an armor unit participated in the combat. So it's probably best if it's over in this hex. And they inflicted 2 step losses. So one of them will definitely be that step and 1 step off the HQ. And they're feeling pretty good about that because they've also created a situation where they've pinched this whole sector out of supply. It's not going to be hard for the Axis to get supply back in. It's not. This isn't exactly a solid trap that they've closed here, but it's not bad. If they'd had an air force, if they'd been in the 9 to 1 column, then it would have been a total disaster for the Germans, which they could have got with an air force and a blitz marker. As it is, the Axis are going to have to scramble a little bit. On the other hand, that is a chance for them to kill a couple more Red Army steps, because this unit here does not have HQ support. Still, killing 2 German steps at this stage in the game is good. The Red Army does want to look for ways to kill steps as often as possible. That's the end of combat, because they don't have any blitz combats. So now it's reserve movement. 1, 2, 3. And I think that is it. So we'll proceed with delay rolls and the end of the turn. The Axis have 3 delay rolls. We'll flip that book over on its RM side. 1, 2, 3. So 3 becomes 2. 1, 2. 5 becomes 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 becomes 5. Net minus 1, so that's 3. 1, 2, 3. And 4. Soviet delays. Just straight up rolls. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is not great. And those all go into the force pool. We'll reorganize the force pools. Got some new guard armies. They probably go hereabouts. I'm just going to put one of these back in the force pool to see where I put them. Okay. So we'll put those there. And that's all looking good. This is a new Air Force. And that's all looking good. So that is it for this video. As you can see, the Soviets managed a little bit of a strike back. They're hopefully going to be trading blows with the Germans over the next few turns as they look for ways to inflict a little bit of attrition before sort of getting into high gear next summer. We'll carry on with the autumn season next video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe.